Podtacular 271, Protect the Internet, for January 20th, 2012.
Hello everyone and welcome back to Podtacular. I'm your host Duststorm, and we have a special guest with us today, the infamous Podfather, and one of our former co-hosts of Podtacular, JVB. Welcome back, sir.
Hey man, what's up?
Not
Thank
much.
you for having me again, man.
Yeah, anytime. We gotta get Fumo back on here too. He hasn't been on here in a while.
Yeah, he'll eventually be on. You got to change the name from Podtacular to Runtacular or something. Or Jogtacular.
Yeah, something that relates to his running now. We'll start a campaign.
The Bike podcast or something.
The Spartan Pentathlon for 2011 or 2012 or something.
Yeah, I haven't not tweeted. Haven't podcast with Fumo in quite some time. Minus the special mega podcast we had during the summer of last year.
Oh yeah. That was great.
We definitely gotta have. Mm-hmm.
It turned out pretty well though. So
yeah, a lot of people, man. That's a lot of people to have on the podcast, and
16
still organized. So
yeah,
that goes a long way.
Indeed, it does. And I mean, we'll be doing it again at some point in the future. Not sure when, but we'll probably do it at some point.
4.
So,
yeah,
anyways,
4 we'll do.
This week we're kind of taking a different route in terms of what we're going to be talking about. This isn't necessarily specifically related to Halo per se, but it does relate to a lot of the stuff that we enjoy, a lot of things that you find on the internet, like machinima and video games and game developers. And of course, this is about the fuss for SOPA and PIPA. And for those of you all who don't know, you've probably been living under a rock, or you know what they are, and you know that those are the Stop Online Piracy Act and the Protect IP Act.
Mm-hmm.
And we're going to get into those a little bit later, but I felt that this was probably a good time to kind of recount what you are now associated with, JVB. I know that we talked about this last time you were on for a little bit, but we didn't get into it as much. And I felt like this would be a good opportunity for you to talk about your role in the Entertainment Consumers Association and what that is specifically about. So,
all right. Well, it's the perfect time, like you stated, because Entertainment Consumers Association, a lot of people see it on Twitter or Facebook as the ECA. And if anybody out there follow me on either Facebook and Twitter, you'll see me mentioning that a lot. So right now, as it stands, I'm the community manager and chapter coordinator for the ECA. And what we do is we are, to put it in simple terms, we are an advocacy group, nonprofit organization that when situations like this occur, situations being SOPA and PIPA, we're there representing the gaming community and the industry as a whole, and we provide you the tools to make a statement. So, for example, we have at the ECA.com, we have an action center. You go there and you put in your zip, there's a list of current and future laws that are on the table. And so for example, you select this one, and we've been directing people straight to PIPA and SOPA. So you go, you put your zip code, you fill out a few bits of information, and this petition is already filled out for you. And once you hit send, it goes directly to your local lawmaker, and it has your name and everything filled out. Right. We've also been providing people with direct information on the Facebook page, which I'm responsible for that. So I've been gathering as much information for local senators, congressmen, and how to contact these people directly, either email, by physically going over there, or calling them via phone. Excuse me. So the last time I was in, I was trying to describe what the ECA does. Well, this is what we do. Whenever there's something that's going to attempt to censor the internet, and this is not just for gamers. I mean, this can affect small businesses, can affect YouTube, Facebook, Podtacular.com.
If you think about it, just about everybody.
Yeah, just about everybody. So it's not just about the video game industry, but because a lot of us have met either by watching Machinima with Halo. I mean, Halo is a perfect example of. I mean, it was one of the first franchises to have full-blown Machinima, that focused around that one franchise. Yeah, I mean, you look at the Spartan Life,
Red versus Blue.
Yeah, I mean, the list goes on, and that will directly affect Halo, like you stated. It doesn't really affect it, but it will. So, I mean, at least the community, in a majority of in a major way. So, I had to split the information between gamers and just the general public, because as you stated, at least to the people listening to Podtacular, we're tech savvy, so chances are that a lot of the people listening already knew about SOPA and PIPA.
Right.
But there are so many people in the general public that had no idea what it was, so that was the hardest part. And until Wikipedia and Google got involved, people were pretty oblivious to this until Wikipedia went and blacked out for the day, and students went crazy and teachers went crazy, wondering what the hell was going on.
Right.
And then the media got a hold of it. They were even asking politicians about it in the news and everything. So through the actions, and that action being that many websites, I think 150,000 websites, joined in this protest, which we decided we're going to shut down our website for 12 hours and put a message in the front page.
Right.
So at talkingaboutgames.com, we did it last Saturday. We didn't wait, because I decided, you know what? I believe in this so strongly, I'm not going to wait when everybody else decides to do it. So we did it. A bunch of other video game websites did it that are in our little community.
Mm-hmm.
And because of that, combined with some of the protests in New York and some of the, like Jon Stewart in the Daily Show was mocking it too.
Yep.
So today they announced that PIPA, which is Protect IP Act, it's postponed, not shelved,
right.
but the voting, which was supposed to happen Tuesday, it's on hold for a little bit. SOPA as well. SOPA, they decided, okay, we're not going to vote on it right now. We'll shelve it for a little bit, but they'll be back, because this is the birth child of another act they tried passing a little while ago, and that got shut down. So, well, together, not to sound cheesy and political and everything.
Right.
Maybe I could run from, video game mayor or something crazy like that. But,
I mean, ECA is a good step, pretty much.
Yeah, right. But together, I mean, you look at the whole ocean marketing situation. I'm sure you're fully aware of what happened with that guy selling, the guy who worked for Ocean Marketing. This kid
yep.
he was inquiring about his controller, and that thing went like wild. That passed along like wildfire, and the internet got together and destroyed this guy's life for about 3 days.
Mm-hmm.
So together we're a powerful force. And Wednesday, that was another perfect example of it. When everybody works together, we can make our voices heard. So even though we got this small victory today, doesn't mean that we got to rest. Doesn't mean you go back to watching Jersey Shore and all that stuff. It means we got to work even harder. So, but they're listening. That's the great thing. They're listening to us.
Yeah. So the Oceans Entertainment thing was kind of another interesting thing that I didn't really look too much into, but I've heard the general details of it. And
yeah, one's from the Senate, one's from Congress,
right,
and the way they're designed right now, there's too many open ends. So it all boils down to that the government the government in Hollywood, they want to protect their intellectual properties. And of course, whenever you go stream a movie or something, it's on a website from overseas. So in that sense, you can't blame them.
Yeah. Well, and I was reading through some of the stuff, and for everyone that's listening, I'll go ahead and put some links together and put some show notes up that you can learn more about these two bills that they're trying to pass. But one of the things that at least I saw that came up a lot was the focus on foreign websites and non-domestic domains. Now, with how the internet works, I'm not sure if, and I don't know the details of the bill. I just looked at the official summaries of the bills that were provided, and there are, official summaries do good to sometimes hide important facts that are in the bill. And from some stuff I've heard, there's some ambiguities in some of the stuff, which is why a lot of people are protesting this. And I get the whole shutting down foreign domains and for that kind of thing, protecting American innovation and creativity. But I'm guessing with how the bill is written, there's some ambiguity, as in the possible loopholes that could affect American citizens. So, I'm all for protecting intellectual property and all that. But if you look at the big companies that are trying to support this, they're making millions anyways.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, Microsoft had to back out. Sony had to back out. But they have money, and the fact that they just want more and more money is like, well, hate to say it this way, but piracy, I believe, it was, for example, I read somewhere where the most pirated games of 2011, Call of Duty 3, for PC alone, had over 3 million illegal downloaded copies. So you add...
I'm not saying it's not an issue.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
But I'm saying...
But this bill, what it does is... No, it's okay. Sorry about that. What it does is not only does it give them the right, because as it stands right now, they cannot touch foreign, quote-unquote, rogue sites.
Right.
Even though FBI did shut down Mega Uploads yesterday.
Yeah, I was gonna bring that up.
But for example, here's how it breaks down pretty much. Let's say, and this is why people are scared, because even though this is aimed at foreign websites, and let's face it, a lot of the websites you go to watch a movie that's currently out in theaters and stuff, they're foreign.
Right.
They're not in America. So
let's say on domestic for legal terms.
Yeah, not domestic. So let's say on Podtacular, let's say these laws pass and somebody on Podtacular decides they're going to put up on the forums a walkthrough of Halo 4 without you knowing. So somebody can just call up Bungie or Microsoft and say, look, these guys have they're using your intellectual property on their website. Did they have your permission? So if Bungie or Microsoft wants to make a stink out of this,
343.
343. Yeah, I was going to correct myself. So if they want to make, I know, right? It's hard to say
Times
Halo
are changing.
without saying Bungie.
Times are changing. Yeah, I know it's going to be hard. But Bungie. So speaking of Bungie, they supported against SOPA. So
yeah, exactly. So we'll just say Microsoft because 343 is under Microsoft. So Microsoft decides to call whoever your host is that's hosting your website. So they'll say, close these people, shut down they can't physically shut down your website, but they will block your website from the general public so that people can't see it. Then they'll contact your advertisers and block you out from there so you can't get paid through advertisement.
Right. Then that's the question that comes up because we're domestic.
Yeah, but they can do it to anyone. And this is the biggest fear that people have.
That's one of the ambiguities in the bill, right?
Mm-hmm. Exactly. So just think of the Patriot Act. It was originated because of what happened 9/11, but now they use it in for most reasons, supposedly to spy on crooks and stuff. So that is the danger. And if they felt you've done this, I believe 10 times, you can go to jail for 5 years on top of a fine.
Right.
So not only do you risk prison time and a fine, you risk that your website is shut down. And now the really scary part is that you cannot defend yourself until proven innocent. So it's not guilty until proven innocent until proven guilty. It's guilty until proven innocent.
Right.
And that's why people are like, no way, you can't do this.
Yeah.
So it's a pretty scary bill. So I guess, right now, the Senate, they decided they're going to put people on hold because they had to cut out the DNS issue with that.
Uh-huh.
And underneath everything was security issues with the internet.
Right.
I mean, it's pretty volatile right now. But if you have these irregularities where the U.S. is running the internet a certain way, and then the U.K. is running it a different way, there's not that universal system that everybody can follow.
Right.
And even in the U.K., they're kind of scared because they're worried that if this happens here, that they'll push it over there.
Yeah, it could happen in other countries.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
China and Iraq right now, they regulate their internet. So,
well, I mean, and if this ends up going through, it's not going to really help anything, and it'll probably even make piracy and other matters worse.
yes.
Because it's not something that you can really stop. I mean, other sites will start popping up, and then, I mean, anyone who's tech savvy enough knows how to use a proxy.
Mm-hmm.
So,
yeah. For example, Lamar Smith, he's the chief sponsor of SOPA. He came out today and said that he's pulling the bill until there is wider agreement on a solution. So at least that part, they realize that, and they called, I don't know if you were watching the trials last year, they bluntly came out and said, well, we need to talk to nerds to see what are the dangers of these bills. And that was like the theme of the day, nerds. It was like,
yeah,
let's talk to nerds. Let's bring in nerds.
So let's talk a little bit about the blackout. So it was basically a chance for websites to participate and blocking out their website and basically redirecting people to sign letters via like email to their state representatives to basically go against these bills. And big sites partook in it, including Reddit, Google, Wikipedia, and quite a few other big name sites as well.
Yeah.
So you said that the ECA and TAG also partook in it. There was somewhere where I saw some stats on how many sites took.
150,000, I believe.
150,000?
Yeah.
I mean, that's a lot.
That's amazing, to have that many websites participate in something like that.
Yeah.
And I'm looking up the facts right now, so I'll get that to you. But
yeah,
somebody had mentioned on Twitter that he said, "Oh, I was." As a matter of fact, it was Scarfinger he does a bunch of podcasts, and one of them is called Scarcasm and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
And he said that it was 115,000 sites. Sorry about that, and 13 million users participated online. No, actually, 115,000 sites and 13 million users participated yesterday online, and it was 50,000 sites blacked out.
All right.
Including 4 of the top 10. So those 4,
Wikipedia, Google.
That was astronomical. Reddit,
2 of them.
Google, Wikipedia.
And then Reddit.
Mozilla.
Yeah,
Reddit was the one that really started that whole thing. But Scarfinger, he said on Twitter, he's like, oh, I was gonna black out, but I have a small website, so it's probably not gonna matter.
Yeah,
and I told him, you cannot say that. We have strength in numbers, so the more we get, the better. And I'm glad. I don't know if he did it or not, but at least he can see this, or everybody can see this. And the next time they announce that they're going to talk about PIPA because it's going to come back up,
yeah,
we can do it all over again, even bigger.
Both of them are probably going to come back up at some point.
Yeah, SOPA right now is a little. It's more uncertainty with SOPA, but PIPA is just as dangerous. And to me, I have this crazy conspiracy theory that they created two and purposely made one to look so unfair that everybody was kind of going crazy on SOPA.
Yeah.
And then in the background, you have PIPA.
Yeah.
And that's the one they really want to focus on. And then all of a sudden they go, all right, we're going to shut SOPA down for a while and then delay PIPA. And then everybody goes, yay. And then they still work on PIPA and try to.
Well, I mean, that's kind of one of the things that happens with news media these days. Well, I mean, bills and other news stories. You have things that come up and they're hot for a little while, but then they usually die down. And I mean, it's up to groups like the ECA and other people to really help pay attention to these developments when they try to sneak back up on us. And
yes, because. And unfortunately, it's proven what's in. Everybody likes to jump into what's in.
Right.
And what was currently in was everybody blacking out and signing petitions. And then give it a little time and let everybody's enthusiasm fade and become complacent and get back to their usual routine and then begin all over again. So, as you stated, it's our jobs to make sure that everybody still becomes aware that these things are still lurking in the background. So at least it gives me something to do. There's a few other advocacy sites out there.
One of them was what? freebieber.org? Was that one?
Yeah, there's League of Gamers, which just started. Those are the guys from Red 5. They have that new PC game that's coming out, Firefall or something.
I mean, it was interesting to see like the number of like top name developers and content makers. I think George Lucas came out against SOPA, or some major film director came out against SOPA. Yeah, there were quite a few game developers that came out against it as well. It means like you look at those guys and it's like, yeah, they're the ones probably being affected most by piracy, yet they're coming out against this. Yeah. So there's obviously something wrong with the bills if it really puts a lot of people at risk.
Perfect example. If you're a frequent watcher of YouTube, you know that little kid that sings he lip syncs and he's popular now.
Yeah.
He looks deformed.
I forget what his name is, but yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Yeah. If SOPA pass, that dude better find a job somewhere because he'll never do a video like that again.
Yeah. Well, I mean, another interesting part of the bill would be, okay, now does that apply to content that has already been posted before? Or does that only apply to content after? I mean, I'm sure that's probably ambiguous as well.
Exactly.
I mean, I'm sure they can go back and nail everything before the bill was even passed. So that guy would be in jail for life, probably. Just saying.
Yeah, it's dangerous,
And I mean, all machinima makers, just about every machinima maker would be out
They'll
as well.
be SOL, and that was one of the. I have put on Twitter that Congress and Senate will get together and create a bill called SOL. As a joke. Stuff out of luck, the saying. Because eventually they'll come up with something so crazy that they'll pass it and we can't do anything. Because
or they might sneak it into a bill.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean,
because
what happened recently
complacent, don't listen.
Yeah.
What was that?
Something happened recently where they tried to sneak something into a bill.
Yeah, there was a few things. As far as SOPA and people, I mean, Thursday morning I woke up and all I dreamt was about SOPA people. Because even though this happened recently, for months I've been just little by little putting information out there.
Yeah.
It was quiet, only a few people, like Jim Sterling from Destructoid. He was big on it as well. Then a few days before, SOPA was announced that it was going to go on shelf. People were suddenly like, hey, let's fight, blah, blah, blah. So it took people a little bit to really focus when they really had to focus. But that's, for those of us fighting it, that's our job to just kind of be annoying and say, dude, this is not over yet, So,
yeah.
Like ESA. A lot of people were confusing the ECA for the ESA, and they're the guys who run E3. And they back up, out of all people, they were backing up SOPA. And a lot of gamers were like, how can you back up SOPA if you're supposed to be the defenders of our industry, but yet this can harm our industry? So they refused to back down, and now I read that they dropped their support, but
everyone can drop their support now just to
exactly
to look good, and then they can come back later.
Yep. So a lot of people are criticizing them, even still, because they're like, wow, good, nice that you take the easy way out. Now that everything's dropped, now you suddenly want to make a announcement saying you don't back it up. But can't really be too harsh because it'll be back. People will be back. So SOPA not so much, but people, yes. So at least if they back away from their current statement and support people again when it's ready, people are going to go crazy, and E3 will be at a legitimate risk, because it was almost to the point where people were questioning. Of course, I had to be the troublemaker and put that question out there and ask people, hey, these guys support SOPA and they also run E3. Are you going to cover it? Because then you're a hypocrite. So that was going around. So, hey, they backed out. So you.
Well, for now, yeah. I mean, we'll have to see what happens. Another interesting thing about this is the timing with presidential nominees. I mean, we have these nominees, and I mean, with the whole legislation now that corporations are people kind of thing, if one of these candidates decides to support these and ends up getting elected and are possibly backed by some of these organizations that either support these bills or say they don't support it and give money to these candidates that do support it, we could see these get passed. I mean, I know, at least I was told this by a friend just yesterday, but like Newt Gingrich came out and said that he was against SOPA. I'm not sure about some of the other Republican frontrunners, what their stances on it are. I haven't stayed that up to date on my news, but I mean, if you look at all these candidates, if one of them is for it and all these companies get behind this candidate, spend a bunch of money on them, and ends up getting elected, we might see these bills pop up a little bit faster than expected, or we might see them try to get snuck in somewhere else. So, I mean...
Yeah, because they tried something similar before. That got shut down quicker.
Yeah. And this is something that might go on for another year or two.
Yep. It's I don't want to become all political and everything, but
this is pretty political.
Corporations, the MPAA, they're in charge of all the copyright stuff and anti-piracy, and they're not starving. These actors are not starving. The movies are still making money. It's not our fault that a movie like Step Up 3 has a $200 million budget, but when it comes out, it only makes $10 million. It's not our fault. The movie sucks.
Right.
You know, if you're gonna make a remake of a movie and put all this money into this remake and it's not as good as the original, then there's a problem. It's not our fault.
I'll take an example from the music industry. Some smaller bands, I'm not sure how much this applies to bands like Nickelback or Lady Gaga, but like some of the smaller bands, not necessarily say to pirate, but they encourage to get their music however you please, because they make their money from concerts.
Yeah, they make concerts,
And I mean,
merchandise.
Piracy, believe it or not, is one of the better ways that some music gets distributed, and people end up going to concerts because they have this music, and then the bands are actually getting more money because they're getting more people who actually went and downloaded this somewhere else. And you can't, I guess you can't necessarily say the same thing about movies, but I mean, word of mouth is pretty strong when it comes to getting money over advertisement and whatnot that the industry might be doing. So piracy might hinder or be somewhat disruptive in terms of companies being able to make money, but you have to address it the right way, not just, I mean, and we have the DMCA and we have other pieces of legislation in place where these companies can already go ahead and soothe people out of existence. I mean, I forget where I was reading this. It might have been Bruce Schneider's blog or something. Probably not, but there was something where dang it, now I forgot what I was going to say. Shoot. If I think of it, I'll come back to it. But I mean, it's basically these. There's legislation in place that should already take care of this. Yeah.
Like right now, they're going to, I believe this is called Open Act, and while it doesn't affect us in general, it will affect. It will make it a little easier for piracy. So right now, they do have a foreign not policy, but they do have people policing foreign websites and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
So they want to pass this responsibility to them because they're the ones already doing it, and I guess they would be considered the experts in that field.
Yeah.
So with the Open Act, and I haven't really looked too deeply into this one because, like I said, it doesn't have the same effect that PIPA and SOPA will have, but it will bring piracy to a different level, and it will give them the power to actually attack these sites and shut them down. But there's also some loophole where they can get around certain things. So they're fighting, rightfully so, for intellectual property to protect those. But under these two bills, POPA and CIPA, mixing them all up, man. Yeah, so under these two, you eliminate a lot of creativity, because how many people we've seen who created machinima suddenly get jobs? Perfect example. Look at
studios.
they go and they get jobs with Microsoft or Epic. Like the guy who currently helps Microsoft. It was a guy who used to do the vinyls for the cars in Forza.
Oh.
He was so good, they picked him up. So, and that kid I was talking about, look at him. I mean, he's doing these songs with some of the artists, with Katy Perry. I mean, it's insane. And YouTube would never be the same. Twitter would never be the same. Facebook.
YouTube would
because now you got to police everybody.
YouTube would be destroyed. Pretty much.
It would be.
And I mean, look at YouTube. There's already stuff on YouTube for companies to go in and submit stuff to get taken down.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that system's already in place.
Yeah, yeah, it is. So, like, there was a video where a little baby was dancing, and because of the song
Oh,
he was
background
dancing
music.
to,
Yeah.
yeah. So that's, let's say you're at Comic Con, or we meet up again in PAX West,
Mm-hmm.
and you and I are doing an interview, and we're doing video or something, and in the background you hear Marty O'Donnell's music, and Microsoft decides, you know what, you got to take that down, or we're shutting you down. They don't need to go through any middleman. They could just go.
Right.
Well, they'll have the middleman, but they don't need to go through certain procedures. Now, the one procedure they'll take is contacting uh, the government, and then from there, the government will hit up your website and your internet host and your advertisers, and from there it'll just keep going and going. So it could be anything, and that's the biggest part. It's whatever they decide is copyright infringement, whether it's right or
Yeah.
wrong, because remember, you can't defend yourself. So they could say that the ice cream truck that drove by during your video was playing was
Oh, the
copyright
tinkle.
infringement because you're hearing the ice cream man song,
Yeah.
It's stuff like that, that even though it's not written in the bill that this is what's going to happen, but it's so wide open that eventually the power is there for them to do that, and they're gonna do it.
Yeah. It just boggles me that for the people that are supporting it, I'm sure at some point they would, if this bill passed, violated it at some point as well. And I mean, if you look at news companies too, you look at Fox and CNN, they take stuff from YouTube as well, and some of these other sites, and it's like, well, there goes your news industry as well. Granted, they have the money
Yeah.
that they can bail themselves out, but
Yeah.
I mean, you're looking at, I mean, they're
Yeah,
affected too.
John Stewart
Oh, he's
was mocking it, and when he showed clips of Congress saying nerds,
hmm
so he goes, "When did they become ogre?" And I don't know if you watch Revenge of the Nerds, and
No.
they jump to the clip where ogre is going nerds, and then John Stewart goes, "Oh man, we could go to jail for that part." And then they put a John Lennon song in the end. He goes, hold on, we can't even afford that," So
Yeah, I haven't
he
watched
mocked
that.
it big time. And there was someone who on YouTube. I mean, there's been plenty of like videos showing what would happen if SOPA passed, and this guy's annoying as hell. But I watch him because he screams while he's playing Modern Warfare 3. But he's such a big Modern Warfare 3 fanboy, right? So
Yeah.
he he put a video saying, "Hey, this is what will happen." No, he goes, Modern Warfare 3 commentary under SOPA. And what he did was he put little green army men. So you hear the shooting and everything in the background. He's like, "So right here, I'm throwing a grenade." You see a little army man with his hand up, getting ready to throw a grenade, and you see his finger holding up the helicopter in the picture, and I thought that was good because I was like, all right, that's good because that's funny as hell. Of course, he annoyed me at the end, but
Right.
it was totally true. It's like that's one guy said he's taken up pottery and stuff like that. He's like, now with soap and people, I can't do these videos anymore.
Yeah.
So now I take up
Well, I mean, if you
sewing.
think about
and,
it, a lot of the popular videos on the internet fall under what soap and people would target.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's a lot of like mashups and remakes and redubs of a lot of popular or funny things.
Yeah.
And that's just that's the internet. That's just how the internet works and operates.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And it's people singing, look at Justin Bieber, and that's how it's all started. It was the Justin Bieber act.
I mean, Justin Bieber goes bye-bye if this goes.
He would have never made it, He would have never made it if and that's what originally it was this Justin Bieber Act, where
freebieber.org, I think is what it was.
yeah. So
I had a picture of him in a jail cell or something.
Yep.
And I mean, lots of people like Bieber, so I'm sure some of those congressmen like Bieber too.
Yeah, so it will harm a lot of industries. It will do more harm than good. I mean,
right.
It's easy to say that with this bill, the rich will get even more richer because they still get richer. So
yeah, it's like
not only will they get richer, a lot of people will lose their jobs.
It's like they do have money. I mean, it's not like they're not making money. Granted, Granted, they're not making some of it because of piracy, but I mean, what are you going to do with that money anyways? You're going to hoard it for yourself or put it somewhere. I mean, look at all these CEOs that get bonuses and stuff.
Yep.
I mean, look at the banking incident that we had 3 years ago.
Oh, with Madoff?
Yeah.
Bernie Madoff, him robbing everybody. I mean, with politics, there's so many different things you can talk about and go on 3 hours about it. And but it's important. Like a lot of people, I'm assuming they saw me talking about this a few months ago and probably figured, why is he talking politics and why should I even bother?
It's important for us as a community that follows Halo and relies a lot on community content.
Yeah. And this couldn't happen.
I mean, Podtacular's toast if this goes too.
Oh yeah.
I mean, you, me, Fumo, we're done for. We're in prison for the rest of our lives. Well, I don't know about you. You guys aren't affiliated anymore, so it'd be me behind bars.
Yeah, I mean,
if Microsoft would decide to sue, but
yeah. So it like with the ECA, I came on the show when I first started and started talking about it. But with me, I'm always trying to figure out what I can do better, regardless if it's podcasting or working for ECA, whatever.
Yeah,
that's just how I am. I'm always trying to challenge myself. So everything fell on my lap. And it took me a few days to realize, I was like, wait a minute. I'm here putting certain bits of information about these two bills. And then I said, wait a minute. Everybody's been asking me, what the hell does the ECA do? Well, here it is. Here's the perfect situation for people to understand who we are. And all of a sudden our Facebook likes, skyrocketed. Same thing with Twitter.
Well, you guys got some publicity too throughout this whole thing.
Yeah. I mean, Jessica Chobot with on her Twitter tell people to follow us and sign up. On David, he writes now for Game Spot. John Davison, he also mentioned us. Destructoid wrote about us because there was a period where people would coming to the Facebook page and they thought we were the ESA. So I kept seeing these people telling me, hey man, I can't believe you guys support SOPA and people. What the hell's wrong with you? And I'm like, man, I'm here figuring like, oh, maybe they're joking or, and then somebody was like, hey man, you guys are, can be mistaken for ESA. And I was like, oh crap, she's right. I never even thought of it. And what was really funny that same day, because we also have GamePolitics.com. So whenever you see GamePolitics.com on Twitter, and you see it retweeted by the ECA, same company. So they posted an article on GamePolitics.com, and the same person who pointed out that we, about the ECA situation, pointed out something in the article, and she goes, wait a minute, you guys got me confused. Do you guys support it or not? And I said, what are you talking about? And she told me to read the story again. And in the story, it says that the ECA, who supports SOPA, and I'm like, so I read it 3 times. I'm like, holy crap, our own editor freaking made a mistake and called us confused us for ESA. So I made a public statement saying, it's easy to mistake us for ESA, and we do not support either bill. ESA is the one who currently supports it, blah, blah. So that got picked up by the instructor. So they reported that. And they put an article saying ESA bad, ECA good. So that was really helpful. And they've been directing people to us as well. I think we had 110,000 emails sent out, like people who contacted us.
Wow.
And we've sent out to Congress people and senators and stuff like that. Yeah, so Wednesday was a busy day, man, because small office, I could work from home, so I was home, and we kept contacting each other all day. And then, they wanted me to say what, what to, if I thought of something, I would contact them. They would be like, hey, what's going on with the Facebook page? And that crashed at one point, so it was crazy. It was exciting though, but it was a crazy day.
Right. I'm sure it was.
Yeah, man. So
but, it's been crazy in general. So.
Yeah.
That's where this whole blackouts started from.
Yeah.
Was the whole craziness.
Even though a lot of people were like, what is this gonna prove? You guys are dumb. And you know what? It worked. So for a lot of those people who were skeptical and decided, you know what, I'm just gonna take a backseat on this one. Here's proof that together we can do a lot of damage.
Mm-hmm.
So we can do so much. And if ESA doesn't back out, when PIPA comes back into talks, when the Senate decide to start talking about PIPA again, if they decide to change their mind, E3, forget about it. E3 would be in shambles. And also, I guess they see the power, because it's easy to assume that gamers will be distracted.
Yeah.
Because, what was it? 3 weeks ago, I had posted the question on my Twitter. I asked people if they were going to go to E3 because ESA, they're backing up SOPA and PIPA. And people were like, well, we need to, we got to put up the news. I say, you don't need to do nothing. They need us, These game developers paid them a fee to go to E3 and show their stuff.
And E3 is closed to the public anyways, right?
You can buy tickets, and then they changed it around again where it was not open to the public, but people get in. If you have the credentials, they made it a little tougher last year,
right?
So they change it all the time. 1 year the general public can go, then they open it up again, then they put it in different spots where you had to go to different hotels and see developers, and that wasn't good. And then last year it was hard for just general websites to go in. They had to meet certain criteria. So one or maybe two people would go from a certain website, where before it would be the whole staff that had the opportunity to go. And, in a way, I agree with that one because it's a trade show. It's not even supposed to be like PAX where it's open to the public and it's for the community.
Right.
So with ESA, let's say a small studio like Mommy's Best Games or something, they want to go and showcase their games, they got to pay them a yearly membership. And then they have a spot at E3.
Right.
And that helps because, it's a trade show. But if the people that are paying these fees decide, you know what, this is not right, you guys are backing up something that could harm us all, and they decide we're not gonna even attend.
They don't have
Red
a show.
5 backed out. Yeah, Activision backed out. And so they don't have a show. So maybe they saw that, hey, people are making a stink because I was putting up the links, their Twitter name, because they don't have an Twitter ESA. They don't have an ESA Twitter name.
Mm-hmm.
It's Video Game Vote or something. So I put that up, and I said, you know what, you guys should ask them what their take is on SOPA and PIPA, and then you make a determine whether you want to go to E3 or not. I said don't feel like you need to go to E3 because you need to cover it. You don't need to cover it. We cover our games all year round, So, and that's what they want you to think, that you need to cover E3. In reality, they need us.
Right.
So, I'm glad, I'm glad that they changed their mind. Granted, they did it when SOPAs is like really on the edge of not happening at all, but people are still around. But hey, they backed out, so forgive and forget.
Yep.
The harm was not done.
So, I mean, it'll come back. It's just a matter of when, and we'll have to be on the lookout for it.
Yeah. And people are still kind of iffy on the E3 stuff, but we'll see if Microsoft decides to bring out a new console this year, and then everybody's going to want to go. So as long as they're focusing on the biggest thing, which is when these bills pass again. Well, not pass. I mean, knock on wood.
And they come back up.
When they're in debates again. Yes.
Yeah.
That's when people got to be.
Yep.
I would rather people change their minds and go to E3 anyway, but they got to focus on what's important. So that's where I'm going to come in and bug everybody again.
Yep. Well, I mean, that's pretty much it. Is there anything else that you can add about? I mean, we pretty much dissected this. So.
Yeah, man. I mean, I will say,
pops up again.
To kind of, if you want to keep up to date, you can go to our Facebook. It's facebook.com / the ESA.
ECA.
You can follow. Yeah. See what I mean? ECA.
Yeah, I see what you mean. I see.
And I monitor that Facebook page, so all the information that you see going up there is me. And a lot of times, I'll put my own humor to some of the posts I put up there. I'll find funny memes or whatever, articles, or make a comment about a new game that came out. So I try not to keep it all political and
right
and boring. But under the circumstances, everybody wanted to. That was the good thing. We have a large community there, and when it came down to hearing news about these bills, that's what people wanted to hear. So if you want to keep up to date, you either go to the ECA.com or you follow us on Twitter at the ECA, or you can follow me at JVB, and just stay up to date, because these bills will somehow pop up again, or they'll be called something else, and you can be sure these guys are not going to get up. So it's to your benefit to just keep an eye out on things, and if you're not sure, then just follow me.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, you retweet. So, anyways,
I'll let you know.
That concludes this episode. Thanks again for coming, JVB.
Thank you very much, man.
Good for you guys, and we'll see you next time.
Keep on fragging bills.